Beautiful, wonderful. Thank you, Javier. Nice to see you. Philemon, nice to see you. Hey, Ridgecrest, thanks for the wave. Nice to see you. I know us realtors, we like to show up 5 minutes late to everything, so we're probably going to have a bunch of people jump on here in the next about 5 minutes or so. But hey, they get to miss out on some of the great announcements coming up. So we're going to jump in just with a few announcements this morning. Once we get through the announcements, I'm going to hand it over to Kevin. He's going to be telling us about some alternatives to paying out a lot of taxes on any sort of investment property that you own, right? So whenever we work with investors, the common question is, how do I avoid those taxes, right? We have our go-to 1031 exchange. A lot of us don't realize that there's other options out there. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. But let's just jump right into some of our announcements. Actually, first things first, I want to jump into our belief system here at Keller Williams. Part of our MVVBP, our mission, value, vision, our beliefs, and our perspective. Today we're going to just look at our beliefs, and we're going to go through this real quick because this is a part of our culture, and this is something we're going to do at every meeting to really make sure we emphasize that with who we are. First thing is win-win or no deal. We call it our Y4C 2Ts, right? Win-win or no deal. Then integrity. Do the right thing. This is a big one. If you always do the right thing, you'll have nothing to worry about. So integrity, do the right thing. Then we have commitment in all things. Then communication, seek first to understand. How great would that be in our world if we chose first to understand, to listen, instead of just thinking about what we're going to respond when we're in a conversation with somebody. Creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty. Equity, opportunities for all. And then success results through people. We are successful through each other, and that will continue on this trend. So that is our Y4C 2Ts. You'll hear us say that a lot. This is a belief. This is what we believe in at Keller Williams, and it's a part of our culture and our foundation. If you don't like it, too bad. You're in the wrong spot then. All right, our new training calendar. Yay! We have to thank our amazing Mike Serrano for putting this together for us. We used to have this paper copy, and it would change, and we would hand it out, and people would lose it, and someone would have to log in. We've done away with it. Let me get rid of my picture here so you could see. We now have this great, beautiful training calendar at kwavcalendar.com. All you need to do is log into the calendar. You need to go through the calendar, and you could click on stuff. It'll give you the links to the Zoom. It'll let you know if it's in person only. You could just go, you could see at the bottom there's a nice little key. Kind of tells you who's it for coaching, for compliance training, for in-person, for special events, for all that great stuff. And so we also have a QR code. You're going to see it around the office quite a bit. Scan it, put it on your phone, save it in your tablet so you can see what's coming up. So like today, you can see that our office meeting from 10 to 11, you could just see that's on there and plan your week accordingly. All right, let's bring me back up here because I could see me. All right, and today, yeah, baby, meet and greet. We got some food. We're going to be going over to Los Originales Bar and Grill off of 641 West Palmdale Boulevard. We're going to come mingle and learn about the office committees. We're going to eat some food. We're going to have some drinks. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you put that in your calendar. Drive over there at, I think it starts right at 3, and we're going to have some giveaways. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you join in on that. Then Red Day. Red Day. Actually, I'm taking up too much screen. Red Day, guys. Red Day is one of our foundational cultural pieces with Keller Williams. Red Day was started, Mo Anderson, one of our first CEOs of the company, had such a priority and focus on giving back to the community, giving back through our success. Here at Keller Williams, we've been more than blessed, more than our fair share. God has blessed us over and over again, and we thank Him through that. And one thing that we focus on is on Mo Anderson's birthday, we actually go out and give back to the community, and we call it Red Day. And Red Day stands for Donate, Renew, and Energize. Guys, we are going to be impacting some veterans' homes. We're going to be building for homes for families. We're going to go do the veteran-enriched neighborhood. We're going to show up in force. I want to see 50 of our agents there. That's my goal. So if you're on this call, congratulations. We expect you there. It's going to be great. We want to go back and give back and be very thankful for everything that we've received in our life. And we want to make sure that we give back to our community. And so we're going to be doing that May 13th. Save the date. Bring a friend, bring a family member. Homes for Families. They're going to provide lunch for us. We're going to go out there. We're going to help build homes for the veterans. A great event, and I'm expecting to see 50 of my KW folks there. It's going to be great. It's just us, and I can't wait to give back and do that. And then also we got the Script Championship. We've been talking about it nonstop. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys haven't been coming in the morning at 8 o'clock every single day, there's script practice going on. Some really diehard people are going in there and learning, basically mastering their scripts. And how do we master something? We spend at least, 10,000 hours on something before we really truly master something. So these folks are in here every morning learning their scripts, and in September, we're going to be building this up. We're going to have our Script Championship. We have a championship belt for the year. We are going to have a script champion within the office. We're going to have a script off leading up to the championship. And at our office meeting in September at our lore, the third Thursday of the month in September, whatever one that is, we're going to have the two champions battle on the meeting, and you guys are going to decide the champion, right? It's going to be a lot of fun. Be a great time. If you want to participate in that, you're going to stay tuned. In July, we're going to start having kind of the bracket fight off all the way up through September for the championship. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sorry, not July, August. KW Kids Can, guys, Quantum Leap for Young Adults. Quantum Leap for Young Adults is, Gary Keller made this class. It's basically his trainings and stuff that he's done. Realizing that most young adults through just out of high school don't know what they want to do in their life. They go to college, don't go to college, have no idea. And they've never really been taught to think differently, right? They've been taught like you just need to go learn English and get an A. You need to go learn mathematics and get an A and get into college, right? But they don't really know what they want their mission about their life is, who they are and who they want to be. What structure and life support will they need to fund that vision that they want? What key relationships do they need to support along the way? How to fund that mission, have a great impact within the community. And this class is just broken up to help young adults think differently, to really kind of think of a mission for their life and how do they fund that and learn about money and learn about how investing could provide. And not just that. A lot of times people have the perception, money is bad, money is the root of all evil. No, that's not true. The love for money could be the root of all evil, but money is good for the good that it can do. The more money you have, the more people you could impact, and the more change you could have on the world. And this is just a class focused on that. And this is not for KW only people. If you're a young person, a part of KW, and you'd like to take it, great. I'll be teaching the class. It's very limited seating. But this is think of who's that young person in your life. Who's that nephew, niece, child, friend's child. If you're part of another brokerage and you have kids and you thought you'd like to do this, great. Invite them to come to this. This would be a great opportunity for them to think different, learn how to really think about really growing wealth and growing to a vision that they want in their world. And it might be something that they can achieve, but they've never really thought about and put a plan and paper in place. And that's what we talk about during Quantum Leap. So this class is going to be May 12th. It is limited seating, guys. It's in person only, where you can only fit 20 people in the room to be with the times and of COVID and being safe. So the first come, first serve, and it's limited seating. The registration link has been sent out a few times. We'll send it out again. Email me if you're interested. I can send you the link directly. This class is free, but they do suggest a donation because that way we could support the following agents, young people that want to come next time. So it's also another great idea if you have working with a co-broke or working with another person and you want to, and they have kids, and invite them to experience really what Keller Williams offers. That makes us different from most places. As we focus on the individual and personal growth, and they might not experience where they're at, so you can invite their young children or their 18 to 28-year-old to come enjoy that class. All right, Kevin. We have our special guest. He was here with us last month talking about trust, and me and my wife were talking, and we were like, we have to go. Like, oh my gosh, we've been missing out on going to get this done. So we are going to set an appointment with Kevin here shortly. We keep talking about it because we need to go do that. And thank you for that valuable information last time, Kevin. But this time we're talking about something a little different that you shared with me and Adam, and it kind of blew my mind. I didn't even know it existed, and I asked you to come back and share that with our agents. And I really appreciate your time. So I'm going to go ahead and be quiet and pass it over to Kevin and make him the host. so he can do what he needs to do.
Perfect. Thanks, Garrett. All right, appreciate it. All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Got it. Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what hit me on this? I'm gonna change my screens here a little bit so I can see everybody. Um, my life is kind of limited. I deal with investment advisors, realtors, and accountants. That's pretty much it. And my realtor friends are really struggling on inventory, right? We have this great lack of inventory. One of the things I do see is when people come in and see us, I'm hoping I want to share this with people so maybe you can see more people this might apply to. But when people get up into their 60s and 70s, certainly, I get clients that they're honestly tired of managing investment real estate. That's who we're kind of looking at. They want to get out, but they don't want to pay the taxes. And they've done enough 1031s, they don't want to do anymore. I would be curious how often you guys see 1031s or involved in them. Very often. I find them a bit of a challenge, especially in a tight market right now. I was talking with somebody yesterday, day before, and they're looking out of state for their replacement property, right? Good luck trying to find replacement property here in the Antelope Valley when you got that tight time frame of an exchange. Those kind of the people we're targeting here, and I want to just educate everybody on giving them another alternative to doing that 1031 exchange. Um, sure here. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
do.
see it.
Okay, perfect. All right. I use another program most of the time other than Zoom, so I'm not the best Zoom expert on presentations here. Um, So we're going to go over some options on how to hopefully maybe encourage more people to sell and give them an alternative without having to go through the headache of a 1031 exchange. And so this is what we're going to talk about is a charitable remainder trust as the alternative to that 1031 exchange. And they've been used for this purpose tremendously over the last 50, 60 years. So it's been around a long time. We just don't see it as much up here, but it's a wonderful opportunity. And I'm going to kind of walk you through here and then give you a couple of examples at the end. Um, I think that's, for me, that's the best way I learn. I don't know, Garrett, if that helped you, and Adam, when we kind of talk about a big picture, then go through the couple specific examples. I'm going to go through those at the end. What is a charitable remainder trust to begin with? It's a special type of irrevocable trust that's tax exempt. That's the key. We want to get a vehicle that lets our sellers get out of their real estate without paying that capital gains tax, especially going on here. So how do we use that in real estate? The first thing we do is donate the assets into the charitable remainder trust, where our client would be the beneficiary, and then that charitable remainder trust is going to sell it tax free, and then get the income out of that for a period of time. What makes it tax exempt is at the end of this life or lifetimes, usually it'll be multiple lifetimes, it ends up having to go to a charity. That's what makes it tax free up front. So people need to understand that. They don't necessarily have to have charitable intent to do this. It helps if you do like to help charity. But it can go to you and your spouse if you're married, down to kids, as long as they're about 30-ish right now for their lifetimes, and then onto a charity. But it saves that tax and can really help a big a charity make the world a better place, I think of it. But again, you don't have to have charitable intent. I think of one of my favorite stories. I was talking with one of the lead experts in the country about this, and he used to do this, go and talk to people. And if they're going to use a charitable remainder trust, he'd always start out with, because he was representing a charity at that time, he'd always say, "Do you have any charitable intent?" And the guy with a farmer crosses his arms and says, "Assume I have the charitable intent of a fraud," right? Zero. And they kind of walked through, so wait, tell me about this tax savings again, and ended up doing it, even though he had no charitable intent. So you don't have to have that, but the people do need to be aware of it going down to a charity eventually. And it could be 50, 60 years later, 40 years later, but it will end up going to a charity at some point here. So the benefits of it is we're trying to take this highly appreciated asset and convert it into income. While we're doing that, we can reduce income taxes, even estate taxes with that. We can avoid the capital gains tax and benefit a charity or multiple charities. How we're going to do that. When somebody is interested in doing that, the first thing they have to do is transfer that property into that trust. And it could be the donor, spouse, children, could be the beneficiaries, anybody they want to give that lifetime income stream to. What's cool about it is then the trustee of that charitable remainder trust can sell that asset tax free. That's the power of this. If it's a highly appreciated asset, our clients are going to lose easily a quarter up to half of that in capital gains taxes, maybe a third of it, something like that. But the charitable remainder trust doesn't pay any taxes, so they reinvest 100% of the net proceeds into income. And not only are they going to get income, it's tax efficient income. Where the rental income is ordinary income, this is very, very tax efficient. It can be out lifetime. And we can always put a guarantee because people are worried, oh my gosh, what if I get hit by a truck next week? The charity's just won and my family lost. Well, we can always put a 20-year minimum guarantee in there. IRS, if we have to use it, if we are using a specific number of years, IRS will not let us go over 20 years. One caveat, I don't think I covered that in the slide here. If people are interested in doing this, they can't have a binding agreement to sell that property. That's the case and the IRS finds out, they'll unwind it. You can have a negotiated agreement, you can have all the terms agreed to, you can have that handshake deal, and you're going to pick a trustee that's going to follow that deal. Then that trustee, that charitable remainder trust, will implement that specific deal that it was negotiated. But just make sure that they don't have a binding contract. You literally have to, both sides would have to agree to terminate it, and then do this. So just that one caveat, you cannot have that binding agreement in place or this won't work. All right, I think we talked about this, goes into the trustee's going to manage it, pay you out those assets for lifetimes, and then eventually go to charities. And if you're using children who are like age 30, it's going to be about 60 years later when that property goes down to charity. So it can have a huge family benefit, even though it'll eventually go down to charity. I just keep bringing that up because I find that's one of the number one things people don't like is it eventually has to go down to charity. It can't go down to great grandchildren and things like that. But I think the economics of it overcome that, make it worthwhile regardless. I'm just going to go through a couple of examples here. These are the numbers using the current IRS tables we have to use. If somebody's 65 and 63, when I see people interested in this, this is when they tend to start being, but they could be earlier, especially in a highly appreciated market like we see today. For a couple this age, the IRS gives us the tables and our software runs that their life expectancy is 26 years. Let's say they're high income, federal and state, they're paying 35% combined taxes. They've got a rental that's 500,000. Their basis is 100,000. And I just picked, they're getting the equivalent of a 5% return off this property. One quick primer on capital gains. The cost basis is generally, it's more complicated than this, but it's generally the purchase price. And then with rentals, you have to depreciate that every year. So your cost basis is going down, and you got the fair market value today, half a $500,000. If you sell it, you're going to pay capital gains on the difference between the cost basis and that fair market value. I want to make sure we understand that. So here we've got a $400,000 gain, big gain. So if they just go and sell it, and the software here doesn't take into consideration state income taxes. This is just federal taxes. I think it would be worse than this. They would lose more than 60,000, but let's be really optimistic. They only lose 60,000 to taxes. They can reinvest 44,000, and if they're getting that 5% return, they're going to get 22,000 a year taxable income, and it comes out to about 750,000 over those 26 years. If they use that charitable remainder trust, the trust pays no tax. So the full amount, and again, this assumes there's no cost of sale, so bear with me on that. It'd be the same either way, right? But the 5% income is higher, they're going to get more income out of it. It's a huge difference over you get over this length of time. But here's the other kicker. When you use a charitable remainder trust, they take the present value of that future gift to charity and you get that income tax deduction today. So not only are we able to sell this asset tax free and you're not paying taxes, you're going to get a big income tax deduction. And this will vary depending on what your payout is, the length of time it's going, all of that. But it's an incredibly powerful tool to say, I'm going to give you the opposite of you having to pay tax. I'm going to give you a deduction that you can use this year for that gift to charity. Again, it might be 26 years down the road. So very, very powerful. The income can be paid to you and your spouse, children, other people. Again, lifetimes is the most common, with almost always put in a guarantee. Again, people are worried about they get hit by that truck or hit by that meteor and then the charities win. We can always get a guarantee that this will go on for at least 20 years. Then the money comes out of that trust of the people who created it and it's taxable then. But here's the other twist on this. Rental income, as you know, is ordinary income. Charitable remainder trust income is extremely tax efficient. Right now, it would be mostly long-term capital gains coming out because you had a capital gain asset, and part of that will be return of principal, which is tax-free. So you're going to go from 100% ordinary income to usually about maybe a third of that will be taxed as long-term capital gains. The rest will be tax-free. So that's the other benefit that makes this very, very powerful, is what you get to keep, not just what you make, but what our clients get to keep after the fact. That's where people absolutely love this vehicle. The income tax deduction is based upon what your income is, the type of asset, and the ages of people receiving it. You can adjust the payout you get out of this charitable remainder trust. The higher payout, you're going to get a lower deduction because there's less going to charity. And your deduction is usually limited to 60% of your adjusted gross income. So if you can't use all of that deduction in year one, you get an additional 5 years to use that deduction. So you get a total of 6 years to do that. I haven't run across anybody who's had unused a deduction in doing one of these. I know we're going through a lot of information. I'll be happy to stick around as long as we need to answer any questions after this. What assets are best? Anything that's highly appreciated. It can be stocks, it can be mutual funds, real estate, it can be a business, anything that is low basis, high gain. I'm working with somebody now, we're going to do this. This is the single best investing story I've run across. I've got a couple. They invested $3,500 with Fidelity in 1970. Well, today that $3,500 is worth $900,000. If they go and sell it, they're going to lose about 40% of federal and state capital gains taxes. So we're going to do that. They're not going to lose any of that, and they're going to get this tax efficient income coming out. But here we're focused on real estate. That is one of the most common, most traditional uses of this, highly appreciated rental income. It could be commercial, it could be vacant land, anything. People wouldn't use their primary residence for this. There's a separate exemption from capital gains for primary residences. That's Internal Revenue Code Section 121. So we're really looking either residential rentals or commercial property. It could be vacant land if it's appreciated a lot. Who can be the trustee? You really need a professional to do this. I've been doing this 31 years, Mark Thompson, 44. We've had this discussion many times. We have never seen a private individual manage one of these properly. So to restate that, we've seen a 100% failure rate when clients are trying to manage these by themselves. I think the concepts are pretty simple. The internal reporting operation is complex. So I'm to the point anymore, I'll only do it if they use a professional. It's not me, by the way. I'm not sending myself more business. We do have companies that this is what they do. They do it very well. It's not terribly expensive. And the clients can always change trustees if they're not happy with it. So it really keeps the trustee on their toes to manage it well and follow instructions. And the trustee controls the assets, but has to follow your instructions, and that's their responsibility to it. And you can change trustee, and you can also change charities, by the way. That's the other flexibility. When I say you, meaning that the clients that do this can change that. So you do have a lot of flexibility here. All right, so now I'm going to go through just a couple examples I went and printed out using our software. So I'm going to walk you through what the software looks like. And it's web-based, so we can do this anywhere. But I'm going to use a couple. The first one, I think they're mid-70s and children, and it's going to go on for the parent and then down to the two children. If one child dies, it will go down to the survivor. So we're going to get the longest of 4 lifetimes on this first example here. Pull that up. Yeah. Put this over here. All right, so this is kind of what the software looks like. Just named them an amazing client, but if I'm doing this for people, it actually has their name in there. And it gives us nice little color graphics here. So this obviously, I would consider this more of a commercial property. You won't have a lot of $1 million residential rentals in AD, but it could be. And it's paying about 5%. Yeah, mom and dad up in the upper right here, they're mid-70s. Their kids are mid-40s. So they're going to start off, put this property in that charitable remainder trust. The charitable remainder trust is going to sell it, have the full $1 million in there. So it's going to pay out $50,000 a year. And it's going to go on for a long period of time. And I assumed here, I can't remember the numbers I used either. I usually use a 7 or 8% growth, probably an 8% growth here. It's paying out 5, so it's growing at 3% for all these years. Way down the road here, 40-something years later, the charity's going to get about $4.5 million, which is pretty mind-boggling. Assuming, again, the assets grow at 8%. We use a unit trust here. I know it's a technical term, but it's a percentage of the assets. It's not a fixed dollar amount. And we don't use a fixed dollar amount because we want to account for inflation. If we have a fixed payout going out, inflation is really running 3 to 4% a year. I never trust what the government says. I look at other sources. I'm convinced it's closer to 4%. We've got our payments must keep pace with inflation, which is one of the beauties of investing in real estate, right? We have those rent increases coming in to cover that. And so every year, the payout is readjusted based upon what the assets did in that prior year. So you can do it where it's scheduled on the last day of the year, or the first day of the year. Going to be revalued. So your payments will adjust. It'll be steady for that year. Then next year readjusts and goes on. And I'll walk you through the next couple slides will show the payouts. I like this one better. It gives me a little bit more information on this. We assumed a cost basis of $200,000, $800,000 in gain. They got an income tax deduction of $129,000. So not only do they not pay taxes, but they get that deduction. And the deduction is fairly low here because we have a 43-year-old involved. So this property is going to go on, assuming she lived exactly to her IRS calculated life expectancy, 51.4 years. So it's going to go on for a long period of time, and we're taking the present value of that future gift to charity, and that's $129,000. So if you look at that income over 51.4 years, they're going to get almost $6 million in income. Not only that, tax efficient income, not ordinary income. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, and here I did, so I did use 8% growth rate on this, just assuming it's a nice smooth growth rate. Hopefully that kind of makes sense here. Then the next slide, or the next example, that to me has this really kicker on it, the absolute most popular example of doing this here. A little bit more, it tells a little bit about it. I want to get to the slides here. And then it calculates what you're going to get each year. The second column here, it's highlighting them all. That shows what the payment will increase. It's increasing in this situation at 3% a year to keep pace with inflation. Again, 10 years down the road, that 50,000 is now 65,000. We go down, gotta go to the next page here for our 51 years. It's now $219,000 a year, again, keeping pace with inflation, we hope. That's the mindset. So that's what we like about it. The payments will generally increase over time. Everything's great right until the market crashes, like 2007, 8, something like that. You know, the people saw that 30% drop in their income. A little unhappy there, but it came back pretty quickly. I hope that helps on the example, gives us a little bit more information. If you're ever interested, let me know. I can run this for you in a few minutes, print it out in a PDF, email it to you. You can see all of this information. This is really great. One of the other objections I get is, what if I want more money? What if I want to take more? This is restricted. You're going to get that 5% payout and that's it. That's all you can do. Think of it as a pension or Social Security. Can you go to Social Security and say, hey, I would like an extra $100,000 right now, and I'll take less money in the future, right? It doesn't work. It's the same way here. You can't do it. So people are a little bit hesitant. So there's another option we have. I'm going to illustrate it in this next example. Is what if I tweak it a little bit and I get a big lump sum out tax free? This is the most common option I've done, and that's we call it a unit trust and sale. And we're going to see what's the most money I can get out tax free and the least amount of money I have to put into that charitable remainder trust. And this is what it looks like here with that little bit different scenario. What we did here is mom and dad are 77 and 75, and they set it up where it's going to go for their life expectancies and then 20 years. But it could be the same thing as we go on for the longest of the 4 lifetimes or that. What we do is the software calculates the deduction we're getting, and then we're going to split the sale here and use up all that deduction. Let me kind of restate that. The software does all the calculation and says, okay, if I get that 100 and whatever, $50,000 deduction, whatever it's going to be, how much of that can I sell myself that will trigger $150,000 in tax? Now my deduction and tax generated zero each other out. I get that lump sum tax free. The least amount possible has to go in this charitable remainder trust. Well, this one will go on for quite a while. So our deduction was relatively low, and it says, okay, you can keep 33% in your own name. You only have to give 66.7%, actually 66.71% to the charitable remainder trust. And again, we get that tax deduction for that 66.71% within the charitable remainder trust. And then we're going to sell 33%, 33.29 as an individual. So you're going to have the same deal negotiated, $1 million sale. We're going to have 2 sellers. The individuals are going to keep that 33%. Charitable remainder trust is going to sell the 67%, 1 escrow. You're going to go through there. You're going to trigger tax on the part the individual sold, but it's going to be offset by the deduction we get for the charitable remainder trust. So in this situation, They're going to walk out with $332,900 tax free. They can do whatever they want with. They can buy that boat, spend it on themselves, do anything. And then we only have 66.7 thousand or 667,000 going into the Charitable Remainder Trust. It's going to pay out a little bit less, but they got that big lump sum tax free. This is what I see people doing. The last big one I did, a client was here in Palmdale. She had an apartment building in Los Angeles. Her basis was $6.6 million. Her husband had died. She got to step up in basis. And again, it's depreciating every year, so it's going down. And she got an unsolicited offer to sell the building for $10 million. She said, wow, this is great. I really like this. But we ran the numbers. She was going to pay $1.2 million in capital gains taxes, federal and state. That is painful. That really gave her pause. We ran through this, and this is what we did in that situation. And she was able to walk out with $6 million tax free and only put about 3.5 million into the charitable remainder trust through escrow. You know how negotiations go. They ended up um, negotiating down to a $9.5 million sale. She loved it. So she got 6 million tax free. She was able to reinvest however she wanted. She's getting about $200,000 a year. In her case, she was older. It's like 74% of that is tax free to her, and the balance is only long-term capital gains. So she was getting all this rental income, 100% taxable, and we just absolutely lowered her tax bill dramatically using this system. So it's very fact specific. Don't think it's always going to be that 66-33% rate. Depends on ages, how long you want to have the trust to go. She was, I think, 81. And that's why she's kind of, like, hey, I'm not going to live for a whole much longer. I don't know how long it's going to go. Charity's going to win there. So we put her life or 20 years, whichever is longer. She could have done life plus 20. There's other factors. She wanted the deduction. A lot of different factors going into this, but it's a beautiful technique to maximize free cash back and then tax efficient income with the rest. Hopefully that makes sense. I absolutely love this one. Thanks, Sue. Yeah, this one is a very, very powerful technique. I think most people are going to go for this. They want that tax-free lump sum, and then again, I call it safe, secure income. We can't call it guaranteed, but it is that safe, secure income for the rest of their lives, plus 20 years. It's going down to children, grandchildren, anything like that. And I think that's kind of it here. This is the deduction. Yeah, because it was going on so long. That's what, yeah, 38.8 years was it. So this gives the numbers here. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I think we've got some time left. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
have a question.
Go ahead, Javier.
Sure. Javier.
Do people set up sometimes their own nonprofit charities so they can donate the way they want to, like for their heirs or something, or?
Yeah, you can, and that's the private foundations. Then your deductions are limited. It's complex, really large deals. I can see doing it. Setting up a private foundation is expensive. And doing it is possible. I don't see it a whole lot when people look at the headaches of running their own. They'll pick another one. Uh, I always wonder, how deep do we go on this? Every topic I can go deeper and deeper. What people will do sometimes is use what's called a donor advised fund as the charity. And I don't know if anybody's heard of a donor advised fund. They've been out, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years each. They're still not super popular. I like them. They're really like a mutual fund, but they're a charitable mutual fund. So the payment, it's like but you got a lot of options. How about that? I don't want to go too deep. We'll go way over, and I'll get too sidetracked and go down too many rabbit holes. But you do have a lot of flexibility on the charity. It has to be a 501c3, so it has to be approved by the IRS.
Okay, and then this would be used in conjunction with the normal family trust. This would be a separate thing, right?
Correct. It would be really running in parallel. This would be
Okay.
outside of it. Absolutely.
I have a question, Kevin. So if, let's
Sure.
say I run into an investor and they have a $10 million building and they thought about selling, they just don't want to deal with the capital gains. I mentioned this to them. What steps would I take as a realtor? You know, I know the basics, but I don't know I want to get them in front of you. And how would they go about doing it? Like, do they
Okay.
just,
Great question. I thought about that and meant to do it. What I would recommend is set up an appointment with us. We have what we call our big event room. We've got an 85-inch screen where I can pull this up and show it. The room's 25 by 25. And I would want you there with the client. So you'll see it, you can ask questions. And when I'm doing this, by the way, I just ran some really fixed examples, especially on these bigger deals. What I'm finding is it could spend hours in meetings because it just takes a few seconds. We'll run a variation of it, print it out, let them see it. On my $10 million apartment building, I want to say we had like 3 meetings. I would run a bunch of solutions. I'd like this one, so we printed out 4 or 5. They'd take those home, look at it, think about it, come back, tweak it a little bit, go back, and then we came back and finalized it. So that's what I would do. I would just, you could talk with the client, reach out to us, and we'd set a mutually agreeable time. We use an electronic calendar so we can actually email links saying, hey, this is the times are available. I would just let them know it might be a multiple meeting thing. If it's a smaller event, it'll be a little bit, uh, if it's one property, you can usually get enough iterations going out in one meeting, but that's what I would do. Just, you guys could reach out to us. We could email you and the client the calendar so you guys could talk and figure out a day that works best for you.
now
And
with the,
everyone's a little bit different on it.
mm,
Some go easy. We're just starting what will be the most complex one of my career. This lady is selling 3 parcels of real property with 2 businesses on them in one charitable remainder trust. So most of the time we're doing this on a fixed price. For one commercial property, it's going to be in the maybe 2,000, 2,500 range. On something like that, we've got all these businesses and stuff. We're going to do it on an hourly basis, and I would expect it's going to be in the $7, 8, $10,000 range by the time we get it done. It's just that's going to be complex.
gotcha. Now, as a real estate agent, I'm always looking for an opportunity to find more leads with sellers. How can I use this information? Can I use some of this information to advertise to maybe potential clients in the future or something like that?
Yeah, I would even be happy. A year or 2 ago, I ran some billboards using this. Interested in selling, you need a capital gains bypass trust. That's what I hear people calling it. That's really what we're trying to do. We're bypassing capital gains. Uh, Remind me, and after this, Jared, I'll see if I can locate those. I always get the proofs of those billboards. Be happy to send it out. But that's kind of the mindset. What I try to do is take these concepts and put them into terms that people are going to understand. To me, that seems to help. Interested in selling, don't want to pay tax, check out a capital gains bypass trust.
So if I was a smart realtor, I would get this email when Kevin sends it to me and I will forward it out. And then I would get on command and I would create an ad and I would be posting that and I would target an age group that was older and have on social media, you could target people that are older, investment property owners, and go after that because that is an amazing thing. And I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
Right?
and that's the challenge for us, and part of it, we're swamped here. I'd like to have more time to promote it. People don't understand it. Our real estate investors aren't aware of this. If you go into areas with a little bit more sophisticated clientele, maybe it's more common. Certainly, I know in the Newport Beach area where everything's got massive appreciation, it is more common. I see more people aware of it. Up here, it's close to zero awareness of this opportunity.
Yeah. And we have
Again,
about 25 to 30 agents on here, and we know the 80-20 principle, meaning there's going to be about 5 of you that actually do this, and the ones that do will find success from it. So I just encourage and challenge you guys that you've been given a silver platter, and I can't believe there's not 100 people in this class at this opportunity to really understand. But think of it as an advantage you have now over your competition and most agents never heard of this. Most investors don't even know. And you have an opportunity to go share that information, to get leads. And boy, that would be a bummer if you had a couple $1 million apartment complexes that someone wanted to sell now because of taking advantage of this.
Yeah, and what I find in my 30 years of doing this, of all my clients, real estate investors tend to be the single most tax adverse group of people I deal with. They hate paying taxes. We've got these people, they're sitting on this property forever because they don't want to pay that tax. And we just need to educate them. There's a way to get out of it and improve their bottom line. Not only that deduction, but the tax efficient income is just huge.
Mm. Awesome. Who else has some questions? We're getting out on the last couple minutes here. Kevin is so gracious of giving his time. Who else has a couple last questions before we wrap up for the day?
I have a question. On the screen, I see that it's 5% antitrust and for 20 years. And then below that, it says 38 years. How do you change from 20 to 38 years? I mean, how?
Okay, perfect. Great question. So this is, we put in people's actual birth dates into their software. In this case, they're 75 and 71. The IRS has official life expectancy for all of us, whatever age you are. We have to use what they have in their tables. So this software is running their actuarial life expectancy, and this is then when both of them are gone, this trust goes on for an additional 20 years. So we're really looking at the younger person here. The IRS tables, they've got a life expectancy of 18.8 years, but we're adding another 20. So this trust is going to go on for the life expectancy plus 20 years, which is 38.8 years. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to go on that long. It's going to go on for as long as they live. So if one of these people lives to be 105, right now we've got a trust that's gone on for 30 years plus an additional 20.
Okay.
But on that tax deduction, we have to use these numbers. It doesn't matter what happens in reality. This is the tax deduction you're going to get. And when we're doing this, I get their tax return so I can put in the actual rates they're paying, and I'll give them a very accurate deduction that they can expect going forward.
Thank you.
Great question.
Sue,
Anybody
you
else?
have a question? Looks like Sue has her hand up.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
I have a question. What about if we have clients that they don't have any children in their 40s or any children at all, and they own a lot of property, but they're in their 80s and
Yeah.
what do you recommend? How can we help them with that?
Then they may want to just do joint lifetimes, and they're going to get it, or they may have a niece or nephew they'd want to include.
Okay.
And I didn't get into some of the technicalities. The youngest a person can be right now and get a lifetime payout is about 30 years old.
Okay.
Again, I could spend an hour and a half going into all the minute details. So you can go lifetime up to including 30-year-olds. If they go below that, we can't use lifetime. So they can go on for quite a period of time. But yeah, if they don't have children, it again works very well. And that's when people get up in certainly in their 70s. I see it over and over again. People have been investing their entire life, and they're just sick of it, right? They're sick of dealing with the tenants, and especially in the last year trying to do an eviction. I don't know how the Antelope Valley is ever going to catch up with the backload of evictions we have, right? It's a good way to get out of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You bet. Especially when you tell them, hey, we're going to get your tax bill to drop as well.
They'll like that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody else? One last question. All right. I don't see anyone else raising their hands there. Nobody else wants to be brave. So at that point, guys, we are going to thank you, Kevin, so much. Again, super appreciative. This is just so valuable. I mean, my head's spinning right now of like different ideas where I could go out there and find investors. Investors are the best people to work with because if the numbers make sense, they'll do it. There's not a lot of emotion tied, and just personally, that's a personal opinion. So take advantage, guys. This is great. There's not going to be a lot of you that will, and the few that do will make something of it. I'm promising you, this is an awesome opportunity. So thanks, Kevin, once again. We super appreciate it. We appreciate everyone that jumped on for today. I'll wrap it up. Next week we have what is next week? Next week I'm doing a training, the 9 ways a millionaire real estate agent thinks. I will be doing that training. Hope to see you guys back then. Until then, we will see you guys around the office. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Kevin, once again, and have a great weekend and a great week. Go get those trusts and those investors.
Thank you.
Thank you.